Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a build video for the Torid Incarnon. Now this weapon has become extremely useful to me. It's become one of my favorites in the game. Before I go into the build for it, I will say, just a heads up, I do personally have a Riven mod on, but I do have a setup where you don't have to have a Riven. This build can work perfectly fine without one. It's just if you do so happen to have a Riven, this is something you can aim for. Um, Obviously, there's a little bit of wiggle room here. The weapon performs incredibly well without one, so it's not a necessity. It's just kind of if you're looking for that nice little extra push onto it. But that being said, the Torid Incarnon can absolutely melt groups of enemies. It's a little iffy on direct target damage, if I'm being honest, but if you're looking for something that handles like large groups of enemies, steel path and above, this thing will perform to all of your expectations. It can still clear acolytes and stuff like that very easily. It's still usable against bosses, but um, there are other options that are probably a little bit better suited for that if you're looking for melting those bosses, but the Torrid is absolutely capable of holding its own in most of the content, especially when built right. So I'm going to go ahead and get in here to the build for it. Now, again, like I said, I do have a Riven on this thing. However, the Riven can be dropped for something like Serration or I probably wouldn't say heavy caliber. If obviously if you have a heavy caliber that's fully upgraded and for whatever reason don't have a serration that's fully upgraded, heavy caliber could be a fine substitute for that. But serration is perfectly fine where the Riven mod slot is. Now, again, the Riven I have is giving me. I got really lucky on my roll for this. Personally, I would drop the status chance in favor of some critical chance, but that being said, it still is extremely useful because of the crit damage and the multi-shot. Heck, even if I didn't get the crit chance, damage would be good. So it's not a god roll, but it's still a really near perfect Riven for this weapon at least. So, of course, we're running high voltage, Hunter munitions, shred, which I don't personally have Prime Shred yet. I haven't gotten it on my daily login yet. I know, shame on me. Anyways, Shred or Prime Shred, if you so happen to have it, that can also boost the effectiveness of this weapon. So if you're lucky enough to have that, um, you could honestly push yours even further than mine. Critical delay, vital sense, and then Riven slot, Riven or Serration if you don't have a Riven for the Torrid, galvanized aptitude, and galvanized chamber. Now, this is more of a critical build. However, I do have high status on it with corrosive. Corrosive is really good for tearing through armor, so that's why I've gone that route. Um, Especially if I'm not running a Warframe like Hildren or Necros or anyone who can strip armor easily. And then, of course, Vigilante Supplies and my Exilus slot. Now, this is entirely optional. You're not gaining a whole lot off of this card, so if you don't have it, by all means, don't worry about it too much. I don't even have this fully upgraded for this slot. This is a 6 forma build with what I have. You could probably bring it down to a 5 forma build if you're running Serration instead of a Riven. The Riven is just extremely costly on capacity, which leaves me with Vigilante Supplies able to fit in there without leveling it up. Um, the reason I don't level it up is because I'm not worried about the ammo pickup. The Tord will perform perfectly fine without the ammo conversion. It's mostly there just for that 5% chance to enhance critical hits from primary weapons. So it's just a nice little push. If there's something better that you feel like you'd want in there, by all means, throw that in there. And then, of course, primary merciless, which makes up for me not having serration in here, which that is another heads up. Uh, Primary Merciless can make up for Serration being on this, hence why I don't even have it on the base build and I'm running my Riven. But Serration will give it that extra damage like how my Riven is doing for it. It's just different types of damage. Um, but overall, this is the build for it. And then, of course, I will show you guys it running in Steel Path. Oh, I almost forgot. Let me show you guys the Riven choices I have. So, of course, I'm running Evolution 2 on the second evolution slot, which increases damage by 51, and then plus 3 multi-shot on the last shot in the magazine. This one's kind of niche. It's mostly just for the damage. The multi-shot's alright, but it's not the most effective for the Incarnon form, mostly doing it for the damage, but the only alternative is having multi-shot consume ammo directly from the capacity and increase damage by 60%. You could go this route, but again, personally, I prefer the first option. Now for Incarnon 3, I run the first option, which is Swift Deliverance, which gives me projectile speed. The other two are pretty much useless, in my opinion, for this slot. Magazine capacity is only useful for the base gun, so not really getting you anywhere, especially how fast this thing can build up its Incarnon form. And then lingering damage field duration doubles on the first shot. We're not going for the base weapons attack, so personally, I don't run this. And then, of course, for Evolution 4, we go for straight crit chance. Now, honestly, you could go for Survivor's Edge on this and gain both crit chance and crit or status chance, but I go for the critical because that pushes me just enough over on my crit chance to put me over the 100% threshold. So I'm getting that 105. Now, granted, keep in mind, obviously I'm getting more crit damage from the Riven, but I don't have crit chance on that. So minus the Riven, you should still be able to push this thing over the 100% crit chance without a Riven. So you just won't have that extra damage from the criticals that the Riven would give that I'm getting. But Serration will make up for that more than enough. And of course, unless you're doing endurance runs, you really don't need a Riven on this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into... let's go to Lua. Switch this over to solo so we don't have to worry about fighting to show off the weapon here. This is 180 to 200. It's conjunction survival on the steel path. I'm just going to jump in here real quick for a couple minutes just to show how this thing performs. I am running my Kalervo build for survivability, so this weapon builds up Incarnon insanely fast. You do not have to get headshots with it. It's just direct hits, which is really nice, which makes this thing broken, in my opinion. It's one of the few weapons that gets that, and it's really nice. 3 shots, Incarnon's fully charged, melt that group. They are no longer a problem. I think that thing was getting up a little bit there. We're just going to let some of these enemies build up so we can show you the full effect of this. I'm going to go ahead and get my overguard built up here real quick on Kalervo. Alright, nice group of enemies over here. See this hallway? No, you don't. And of course, you'll see red crits occasionally pop off on this thing, and it's absolutely nuts. You can just burn through groups of enemies with this thing at no issue at all. And of course, if you're running a Warframe that can give you even more effect to your primary weapons, this thing is just stupid how strong it is. Little red crits just popping off here and there. The slash procs hitting in there. I just got a full Incarnon charge off of a single direct hit there. And again, since these are Grineer enemies, you can see the corrosive, well, some of the enemies are Grineer, but you see the corrosive just tearing away at their armor. Corpus shields stand no chance at all. Yeah, yeah, this thing this thing holds up extraordinarily well. Um, if you haven't gotten the Torid yet, honestly, if you're playing this week on here, now granted this is going to only apply if you're watching this video during the week of its upload. However, the Torid is currently in the Duviri Steel Path. Oh, I don't know. Ow. I hate when that happens. Enemies steal your weapon, and you're just like, hey, where'd my damage go? Force me to pull out my Grimoire. But anyways, the Torid Incarnon is currently in the Duviri Steel Path circuit this week, so you can pick it up. The Torid is obtained from the clan dojo, I believe in the chem or the bio lab. So if your clan has it researched, then it is absolutely worth picking up, and I highly recommend it. You see the work that this thing will put in. So that's a couple of minutes in Steel Path Conjunction Survival level 190 to 200, and it just melts through anything that gets in your way. Eliminates anything in a hallway, a group. You hit one enemy with this thing, and it just starts spreading around, clearing the room. So if you're looking at the Torid and thinking about getting the Incarnon, and you haven't already picked your Steel Path circuit reward, highly recommend, or heck, you may have picked it a while back and just haven't ran the haven't gone and built it onto your Torid, or just built the Torid in general. Go do it. It's so worth it. Anyways, again, I'll pull this up on screen for everyone. You can get that nice pause screen going, take your screenshot, whatever you got to do. Again, Riven is not necessary. This thing runs perfectly fine with Serration. Just, I'm getting that extra little bit of multi-shot, but beyond that, highly recommend the Torid. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.